The wind howls through cracked shutters. A door creaks open, though no one is there. Dust floats in the moonlight like suspended breath. A child whispers, "Who lives here now?" No one answers, yet the house feels aware. It groans, it sighs, it remembers. Every footstep on the stairs echoes with the weight of those who walked before. This house has seen births and deaths, laughter and fear. And in the stillness of midnight, when the veil is thin, it breathes again. They call it haunted, but perhaps it's simply remembering. I am Gregory Hallows, and this is Preserve Halloween Podcast. Welcome back. On this podcast, we will open the door to one of Halloween's oldest and most enduring obsessions, the haunted house. Lots of songs written about haunted houses, lots of haunted houses all over the place. Lots of fake haunted houses every year, which are fun. Haunted house is more than an image on postcards or a backdrop for plastic skeletons. It is a symbol of memory, of fear, of what lingers after life. Every culture has its version, a home that's touched by tragedy, a dwelling that refuses to forget. From the ghostly manors of England to America's carnival funhouses, the haunted house is both a warning and an invitation. Step inside and the past might not let you go. So before haunted houses, there were haunted places. In nearly every ancient culture, people believed that spirits lingered where they had lived or died. In Egypt, offerings were left in tombs to appease the dead. In Japan, the restless Yurei returned to the site of betrayal. In Celtic lands, ghosts wandered the old hills and ruins at Samhain, searching for warmth among the living. The idea of a spirit bound to a location, especially a home, grew from grief and guilt. If something terrible happened there, surely it left a mark, right? The structure became an echo chamber of emotions. That belief that walls can remember, they have a memory, is the seed of the haunted house. So, in the the simplest of terms, houses are built to protect, but that protection implies that something is outside worth fearing, right? As early as the Middle Ages, people avoided houses where illness struck or where someone had died unnaturally. These were called tainted houses, and they were believed to carry invisible residue. Even now, real estate agents use terms like stigmatized property. We still understand on a primal level that a home can hold on to something. So I looked up stigmatized property because I wanted to learn a little bit more about it and share it with you guys. In real estate, stigmatized property is a property that buyers or tenants may shun and avoid buying for reasons that are unrelated to its physical condition or its features. That can include a death of an occupant, a murder, a suicide, illicit activities, or even the belief that a house is haunted. Controversy exists regarding the definitions of stigma and what sorts of must be disclosed at sale. It is argued that the seller has a duty to disclose any history of the property, but that falls into two categories: demonstrable, which is physical, or emotional. Local jurisdictions vary widely in their interpretation of these issues and occasionally contradict federal law. Imagine that. So, what are the types of stigma involved? Many jurisdictions recognize several forms of stigmatized property and have passed resolutions to deal with them. One of those is disclosure. Depending on the jurisdiction of the house, the seller may not be required to disclose the full facts. Some specific types must always be disclosed, and others are up to the jurisdiction, and even others are up to the realtor themselves. So these include criminal stigma, which is the property was used in a commission of a crime. So let's say it was a brothel or a chop shop, a drug den. In the case of drug dens, some drug addicts may inadvertently come to the address expecting to purchase illegal drugs because that's where they always went. That's a full disclosure of this kind of deal. So a debt stigma is debt collectors unaware that a debtor has moved out of a particular residence may continue their pursuit, resulting in harassment of an innocent person. This is really bad when it's the collection agency uses aggressive and illegal tactics, which a lot of them do. Minimal stigma is known and only taken seriously by a small select group. This is, you know, realtors may decide to disclose this information on a case by case basis. Um, so here's some of the big ones. Murder or suicide stigma. Some jurisdictions in the United States require property sellers to reveal if a murder or suicide occurred on the premises. California state law does if the event occurred within the previous 3 years only. To protect sellers from lawsuits, Florida state law does not require any notification. In North Carolina, sellers and agents do not have to volunteer information, but a direct question must be answered. So if you ask them, hey, did somebody die in this house, they have to answer you. So it's like saying, hey, are you a cop? You have to answer, right? Phenomena stigma, which is you have to disclose if a house is renowned for haunting, ghost sightings, etc. This is separate from public stigma because the knowledge of the haunting is restricted to the local market. Perceived paranormal activity is an indicator of a possible air quality hazard, such as carbon monoxide or toxic mold. That's funny. Public stigma, when the stigma is known to be a wide selection of the population and any reasonable person can be expected to know it. This is like the Amityville house. Everybody knows about that house. Home of the Menendez brothers, home of stuff like that. Public stigma must always be disclosed in all American and European jurisdictions. So, in the United States, there is a principle called caveat emptor, which is let the buyer beware. That was held for many years to govern sales. As the idea of an implied warranty of habitability began to find purchase, issues like the stigma attached to a property based on these acts, haunting, criminal activity, began to make their way into legal proceedings. So, of course they did, right? Here's one example. In Stambovsky versus Ackley, the New York Supreme Court Appellate Division affirmed a narrow interpretation of the idea of stigmatized property. The court held that since the property in question was previously marketed by the seller as a haunted house, he was stopped from claiming the contrary. The majority opinion specifically noted that the veracity of the claims of paranormal activities were outside the purview of the opinion. Notwithstanding these conclusions, the court affirmed the dismissal of the fraudulent misrepresentation and stated that the realtor was under no duty to disclose the haunting to potential buyers. It's a lot of legal mumbo jumbo to me. Several states have created specific statutes adding stigmatized property verbiage to their legal code. So here's some other examples. Famous homes, such as those used in television or filmmaking, can also be stigmatized by the increased traffic from fans wanting to see the house. One example is 112 Ocean Avenue in Amityville, New York, where Ronald DeFeo Jr. murdered his family, later made famous by the Amityville Horror and numerous films. The Lutz family claimed the house was haunted by evil spirits who drove them out. Their claims were supported by Ed and Lorraine Warren and Hans Holzer, but dismissed as fraudulent by skeptics. Uh, since the house, since the film's release, the house has been renovated and the address changed, but people still can figure that out. But here's the thing: as I was looking this up because I wanted to read more about stigmatized properties, right? There is a website called diedinhouse.com, and I went to it, and it's still active. Uh, as the name suggests, the website will tell you who, if anyone, has died in the place you call home. Roy Condrey is the guy who started this. He started it after one of his tenants told him he believed the property he was renting was haunted. Condrey did some digging and learned that in most states there's no law requiring home sellers or real estate agents to disclose a death that took place in a residence. So he created a website to look it up for himself. Also, fun fact, because I live very close to New Orleans, there is no official death sign in New Orleans real estate, but if you've ever been there, you'll see there are sometimes houses for sale that are properties for rent or whatever that say haunted, not haunted, which some real estate brokers, particularly in the French Quarter, will use to attract attention to properties. One side will say haunted, the other side will say not haunted. They were created by a local broker named Finnish Shellnut as a humorous way to generate interest, though he has claimed that some of the properties actually are haunted. This playful approach capitalizes on New Orleans' reputation for ghost stories and paranormal activity. But Louisiana law does not require sellers to disclose deaths that occurred on a property unless the property was used as a meth lab, which would be considered a material defect. So that's very specific, right? So let's go back to the story. Haunted houses. Architecturally, haunted houses share some traits. Empty halls and echoes that mimic voices, windows that look like eyes watching the world, stairs that lead to nowhere, an uncanny sense of a presence in absence. Sounds like a lot of plots for a movie, right? Uh, in folklore, these features reflect our own unease with time. Every creak, every draft becomes proof that the house is alive. So it's cause and effect. If you believe it enough, then sometimes it comes true. Haunted houses are not uniquely Western, though. They appear whenever humans live long enough to form memories. In Japan, stories of yurei, I thought they were called yokai. Okay, now I see. Yurei, which are ghosts bound by emotions, often center on domestic spaces. The 17th century tale of Okiku's well tells of a servant killed over a missing plate. Her spirit counts endlessly in the night, trapped by the scene of her death. Unresolved situations. That's a lot of times ghost stories. Have to have an unresolved situation. In England, manor ghosts walk corridors, reliving betrayals. The Brown Lady of Raynham Hall, captured in a famous 1936 photograph, is said to be Lady Dorothy Walpole, locked in her room until death. In Mexico, La Llorona, weeps outside homes, searching for the children she drowned. That is a wonderful story. Sad, but it's a very good story. In the American South, plantation ghosts and Civil War specters haunt homes steeped in suffering. I have witnessed that myself. Every culture tells the same story. Where there was great pain and it lived in a place, sometimes something stays behind. So, over the course of history, haunted houses in America grew from both folklore and history. Puritan settlers who brought fears of witchcraft and the supernatural. Their wooden homes would be lit by candlelight, became the stage for stories whispered around the fire. Any story told around candlelight or a fire ultimately becomes better. After the Civil War, entire towns seemed haunted. There was so much death, so many unfinished lives, so many people died young. Houses were abandoned after battles. They became monuments to loss. They just sat there, and the ghosts have nothing to do. By the 19th century, ghost stories were as common as front porches. Magazines published tales of haunted estates, and spiritualism, seances, table rapping, ghost photography became huge. Haunted homes became social spaces where the living tried to reach the dead. The haunted house was no longer a place of fear, it became a portal. Ouija boards, right? Um, in 1933, during the Great Depression, an unexpected cultural shift began. Communities in the U.S. started creating haunted houses as fundraising events, guided tours through darkened rooms where costume volunteers played ghosts. If you give it enough time, Americans will commercialize anything. Um, and of course, the great thing, 1969, Disneyland opened the Haunted Mansion and it changed everything. Suddenly, haunted houses were not about real ghosts, but stage ones. They were giving safe doses of fear. Throughout the 70s and 80s, haunted attractions exploded in popularity, and by the early 2000s, they had become an industry worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Still are. These houses turned ancient fears into entertainment, but the blueprint remained the same. A familiar home turned unfamiliar, a place of safety turned strange. Why do we fear the familiar? Psychologists call it the uncanny, but it's when something feels almost but not quite normal. A doll's glass eyes, a human like shadow, a door that opens too slowly. The haunted house is the ultimate expression of the uncanny. It takes the comfort of home and twists it. When a place is meant to protect us, becomes a source of fear, we lose all of our emotional footing. Things get turned upside down. It's why an empty, well-lit house can still feel oppressive when you're alone, because you're by yourself. You're alone with your thoughts. Your brain will fill the silence with stories. You will fill in those gaps. In that way, haunted houses are not about ghosts, they're about us. So, it's our fears, right? Haunted houses dominate Halloween imagery. Some of my favorite Halloween imagery is haunted houses. They're on postcards, they're in horror films, Main Street decorations, just everywhere. Tattoos, Haunting of Hill House, Poltergeist, The Conjuring. Just keep going. Amityville Horror. There's so many good haunted house movies and stories. Family, a home, and the unseen force that refuses to leave is basically what you're getting. These stories resonate because we recognize the settings. It is a house. We've all walked into an old house and felt a chill. We've all wondered what happened here. Haunted houses are mirrors. They reflect our anxieties about death, memory, and belonging. And haunted houses are a ritual. Every Halloween, millions of people visit haunted attractions and wait in line for the chance to be scared. They literally stand in line and pay to be scared. Anthropologists will describe this as ritual theaters of fear. That's what these spaces are. You enter, you confront the unknown, you leave, you're safe. You've been scared, but you've been transformed. It's not unlike ancient rites of passage or ghost festivals. Halloween itself is a rite, death reenacted through play. The haunted house gives us a controlled environment to flirt with danger, to laugh at death, and to come out the other side, just like a lot of other Halloween stuff we do. Um, every creak in an old house is time speaking, every dent in the wood, every worn stair, every faded wallpaper. Those are memories. That's history, living history. And folklore spirits cling to these places where they are happiest or most tormented. Uh, but perhaps these hauntings are simply the echo of us, our longing to remain, our refusal to be forgotten. We are all haunted by something. The house is just the metaphor that holds on to it. Um, it's deep, right? We get a little deep today's podcast. From haunted homes to haunted people, our next episode will explore witches. Maybe. The living figures who blurred the line between fear and power, the cauldron, the broom, the pointed hat, all symbols of rebellion, fear, and fascination. And another ultimate symbol of Halloween. So think about this. Next time you pass a creaking house this Halloween, don't hurry. Don't rush. Look up in the window. Look and see if you see anything. Look for those, and take a photograph. See if you see the orbs. Someone or something might be looking back at you. The haunted house is more than just a building. It's a story that every culture tells, a reminder that home is where the ghosts are. So until next time, next podcast, stay strange, stay curious, stay spooky, and always preserve Halloween. And go visit a haunted house.